start from the beginning.
It's recording right now.
Okay.
We got time?
Ding ding.
Yeah.
We want to get out of here on
I think it's
time.
only a half hour to get through. We got 20 minutes left. We got plenty of time.
So let's talk about different types of speech deliveries. There's a few different types we're going to be aiming for by the end of this class. One of the more difficult styles of delivery, and we'll go there in phases. But to begin, one thing I want you to be aware of is that from culture to culture, there's different expectations of how we should be speaking in public speaking. And one thing that I want you to know as we go through this class, that I'm teaching you how to deliver a presentation in a way that's going to help you be more successful within this culture. So we do this deliberately. Now, there are differences in how, from culture to culture, individuals will present and what's more acceptable. I want you to know that it doesn't mean that one way is wrong or better, it's just different. And so let's just pull that awareness up to our level here. So what we're looking at for our class, and I've said the word audience-centered, but that's also considered listener-centered. What that means is you can walk into any kind of a presentation as an audience member, and you basically don't have to do anything. It's up to the presenter to have all the materials together and present in a way that's clear to you. So the presenter has to know their audience well. That's important. If they don't know their audience well, if they're not gauging their understanding and they're losing information, the audience can interrupt and ask questions, but if they still don't understand, it really lies on the speaker to make sure that their audience knows what's going on. So there's a lot of responsibility set on the presenter, and that's what we teach in this class. I'm teaching you to have this listener-centered. It's also, of course, called audience-centered, so that's what it's called in your book. In education, it's called student-centered. So we use this word interchangeably from career to career. Patient-centered, okay, for those of you in the healthcare field. So next is the speaker-centered, and we can just flip that around. So if you know what listener-centered is or audience-centered is, what do you think will happen with the speaker-centered type of presentation?
There's responsibilities on the listener?
On the listeners. So you will expect that the speaker will not likely slow down. And if the audience doesn't understand anything, it's up to the audience to figure it out. So you can expect an audience to have to do homework ahead of time so that they know what's going on. And if they don't know, then it's their responsibility to look up the information and figure it out before the next time they see the speaker again. So a lot more responsibility lies on the audience members. Now, in education, you can see a shift between these two. So you see that already in some of your upper level classes?
Some of my different professors I've had, some of them will be very much more on the listener-centered side of things, and then I've had one where if you did not do the reading ahead of time, you have no clue what was going on.
Yep, there you go. That is more of a speaker-centered approach.
My math teacher would often wipe the board before he got finished writing down all of it.
Oh,
No way.
gosh.
So I'd say that's pretty speaker-centered.
Oh, yeah, that would be. Upper level classes, you're going to experience this. If we go to graduate school, you'll experience this to a greater degree. What'll happen, you'll walk in and it's that term where it says hit the ground running. They're not going to review everything. You're going to walk in assuming that you know everything, and if you've missed anything, if you haven't brushed up on your skills, then you're going to really struggle during that presentation. Some jobs are like this too. Has anybody served in the military in here? Okay. I understand that the military is pretty well known speaker-centered.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so you better know what that individual, what their background is before you walk into that presentation.
Right.
Okay,
Most, if it is a speech given to like a higher up, it's mostly intel, so they know what's going on already.
Mhm.
And they've been given the subject like months before, just to prepare for this and everything. Like, I was talking to a friend about how, spending 2 months on a speech with another intel guy, but it all got like trashed anyway, so he never got to give it to the, I think it was a general, one star.
okay, all right, so it's definitely hit the ground right. They probably don't go through what all the acronyms
No,
mean.
because it's a general, he knows what's going on, so they know the stuff, so.
Okay, so military is a great example of, generally, from what I understand from my students, a speaker-centered approach. You can look at this at different types of audiences. And so if you, let's say, go to a religious ceremony, there's different types. Some types of churches you can walk in and they'll just show you everything, and others, the older traditional religions, you will have to just know what's going on or try and follow what's going on because it's not going to be explained. So how many of you experience that? You go into a situation, it could be a church, it could be anything else, any kind of working environment. Okay, what was your situation?
My job.
Okay, where do you work?
I'm at aid
Oh,
facility.
yeah, hit the ground running.
Pretty much.
Okay, so for those types of circumstances, it may be that there's not any time
Yeah.
to show you, you just better,
Figure it out.
sink or swim.
Right.
Jerry, what was your situation? Oh, I thought you raised your hand.
Oh, I did, but I forgot.
Okay, that's okay, that's okay. So just to be clear, there's nothing wrong with that type of approach. It's just different than what I'm teaching you. So you'll see that I put a lot more responsibility on you as a speaker to make sure everything's crystal clear. So we won't be learning the speaker-centered approach. We'll be focused on the listener-centered or the audience-centered approach. Now, moving forward, there are 3 different types of styles. The first one is impromptu.
Ooh.
We've certainly heard of impromptu. What does this mean?
On the fly, no prep beforehand.
No prep, maybe a couple minutes beforehand. So you may be like, oh, you're gonna tell me about your favorite hobby in 2 minutes, you know? So that would be, you're not, if you're okay, it's not gonna happen. But that's it.
Oh, man.
There's a lot of advantages to this, though. So if I were to ask you to talk about something that you knew really well that was about yourself, what kind of presentation would this be for your audience?
A fun one.
So the potential, it'll be fun, it'll be authentic.
Yeah.
Genuine.
Absolutely. So, and you can have a really good connection when you don't have any preparation. Plus, you're not nervous up until that point because you didn't even know it was going to happen.
I would love to do all my speeches that way. Just go up and just off the dome, you know.
We should.
So,
Yeah.
we have no. You know what? We'll have some opportunities to do a few impromptus.
Yeah, that's
It
what's
kind
up.
of helps you get used to actually being up
Speaking, yeah.
Do an informative on impromptu.
Dude, I would totally do that.
What's your outline? Here's
I
a blank
think
piece
I've
of
actually
paper.
had to judge a speech, because I do like forensics and stuff. I'm now a judge for them. And there is one speech I've seen where it was like an informative speech on different types of speeches. And when they got to impromptu, I just remember them putting all their VAs down just for the solid span of 2 minutes explaining. I found out later that the kid hadn't finished the speech. So that was all pure impromptu. After that point, I'm like, I'm proud. Like, I can't say anything about that because for me, I've also done impromptu. I was in extemporaneous speaking.
Okay.
I did that for all 4 years. Went to nationals my sophomore and junior year. So that's low prep, 3 to 5 minutes, usually about politics. And if you want to do good, we have this whole thing, it's called like prep, where you put a bunch of articles on about everything. If you don't have anything on that, it's base knowledge of what you know and you pray for the best.
And so without that knowledge
Totally do that.
background, you're in that impromptu. It is. There's a lot of disadvantages to impromptu. We're talking about the advantages right now. So what are the disadvantages?
You may leave out some things you didn't think of on the spot.
Okay,
You
good.
get a chance to develop.
Sure. So just because of that, you don't have the time to organize or develop, or you could get things wrong. That's another issue. And what? Credibility. I always kind of cringe for the people where the media is chasing after a person and like, give us your thoughts, and then they say something, and then next thing you know, everybody's on attack mode because they said something wrong. It's just like, well, that's the risk you take with an impromptu. So we know the good things about an impromptu. We know the bad things about an impromptu. Let's move to the next one. Your scripts. Manuscripts. Has anybody worked with a teleprompter before?
No.
I have not.
That'd be so cool though.
It could be your note cards. So you'll have some note cards for your presentation. So it could be like this. So
cards.
Can we have a teleprompter?
I wish we had one. They were gonna buy one. We had some kind of a grant, but it ended up going somewhere else.
What?
But we do have a teleprompter here at the college. It's in a room.
Yeah, okay.
But-
It's a room.
I don't know if we should use it, but we do have one. I know that. Let's get our hands on it. I know. I would love to.
Just one class, that's all we need, one class. We gotta learn how to.
Just think, just
3 times.
send a couple of us in there to go steal it and bring it in here.
It's
We
like
got Grady for
bolted.
welding.
I'll open it.
Yeah, it's bolted.
Oh, is that
Yeah.
what you meant that it's?
That's why we got a welder.
I fuck with
So
welding.
what's the great thing about, why are you so excited about me?
It's a teleprompter.
None of us have ever used one. It's
Oh.
a new thing, it's new shiny
It's so
thing. We want to use it.
cool.
So, but what would be
can have
the
nice
advantage in a
things.
presentation to have a manuscript? You can read it.
Your exact thoughts, your exact words are right there for you.
Okay, so if you've done the careful planning, that's if you've done the careful planning, if you've written out your speech, and you can have this word for word with the teleprompter, or your note cards, you will never be at a loss for words, because it'll be right here. So nice. So that's a
That's
huge
dope.
advantage to this. There's a few disadvantages. What could
What
they
are
be?
those?
Technical
Become choppy, sound like a robot.
the mechanical
Yeah.
sound.
You're,
And,
you're not like
You
that
lose it?
shot,
okay, eye contact.
yeah.
Oh.
Sounds rehearsed.
Yeah. If you lose your spot, and you can't find your spot, and you're trying
At a loss
it's
for
really
words.
difficult to concentrate on.
You forget your manuscript at home? That'd be awful, man.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I was reviewing some presentations,
Better
and
to be an
this poor
impromptu.
kid read the same note card twice.
Oh
And you
no.
didn't know.
Oh.
That's tough.
Yeah, you feel for people that do that.
Yeah. I mean,
Here's the next
Sucks for
stop
him,
of
though.
presentation. Wonderful. We love, as audience members, love memorized presentations. So entertainment falls into this. Okay, so anybody love live theater? It's one of my favorites.
no.
Okay, so that's where memorized comes from. We love it as audience members, but why do we love it? It's so great. Quiet group in our back. My 2 ladies back there, you have them.
Yeah, come on, guys.
You can't do it. You can't do it.
I don't know, we
can't
like it a
do
lot of times
this.
because it tells a story and it's entertaining.
Okay.
It flows together,
Yeah.
usually.
Yeah, it's been well planned.
Good job, Brittany.
It's okay, he'll get his face in there too.
Do you want me
Say hi
to?
the camera.
So,
What's up, class?
it's great. Memorized is wonderful.
It's more exciting than reading off like this because you get to be more engaging.
You can slow down at the perfect place and speed up when you really want to, and this isn't in your way. And if you've practiced enough, you can have that connection, feel that connection, yes.
It also gives you the freedom to do a little bit of throwing in some improv on it.
Some
like if
impromptu.
there's something that you just like think of on the fly, like, oh, this would be interesting, you can throw that in your
Hold that thought.
into your
We'll come-
presentation.
I want you to remember what you just said, yes.
That's how most
Remember it, dude.
Notebook cards are that big though?
What?
Notebook cards?
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah,
right,
teachers?
yeah, these are perfect.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so the great thing about memorized, we know what's the terrible thing that can happen.
They forget.
Okay, and we're all fallible, so it can happen to the best of us. So that's the big thing about memorized, that's a big barrier.
Don't
The
forget.
last one, very last one,
Motivation.
extemporaneous. Okay,
Motivative speech.
that's Tony Robbins.
What does he do?
He's huge. Yeah, like literally, he's a giant. But Tony Robbins, he's extemporaneous, so it's the best of all three worlds. You
That's
look
a
it
big
up
word.
online, it's going to describe it as an impromptu, and that's not what extemporaneous is, since you know that, since you.
Shame.
So it kind of gets me mad because the Google just fails
Yeah,
us.
gets me mad too.
Extemporaneous.
Big one.
You have to have part of it memorized, you have part of it notes, and you have that impromptu, the interaction with your audience.
Oh, that's what's up.
Most audience-centered, most difficult to prepare for, that's why it would take so long to get to that point. So that's what we're aiming for. Are we gonna be able to remember this on a test?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, let's get out of here. We'll see you here at noon for our next class period.
Do I just hit the button?
Yeah,
Oh.
thank you.